Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Butcher's Fresh Cuts. I'm so glad to have you here. I'm your host, The Butcher, and this is the Butcher's Shop, where we, as always, we're grilling and chilling and chopping it up about Brewers baseball, talking with you about the Brewers baseball, not Local 9, our club out there. We're a proud part of the Miller Park Minute podcast and streaming network. The MPM, as you may know, is the world's only daily Brewers podcast in the world. My boy Eric is out here bringing it every single day, bringing you the freshest Brewers news and content. And there's nobody quite on top of it like us out there. And Eric is the main man bringing it to you day in and day out. I come around on Wednesdays and for special episodes for the time being, possibly more as the season goes out. But big shout out to my guy Eric, bringing it every day. Also, we can be found anywhere where podcasts can be found, be it YouTube, Anchor, Apple Podcasts, or Spotify, pretty much anywhere else. If you're looking for sports podcasts, you can find the MPM. And as always, please like, subscribe, comment, and all that good stuff. We love chopping it up with you guys in the comment section too. We love talking the game. We love talking ball with anyone, especially Brewers baseball. And it's great to be able to do it here on the show, but it's that much sweeter when we get a chance to interact with you guys. And we often do, and it's great to hear your feedback, and we love to just have discussions about stuff. So much love to all you baseball fans out there with us. Real quick before I move on, I record this on Tuesday nights before Wednesday because we do air it so early in the morning, 5:30 every day. But the game just finished. One of the greatest World Baseball Classics of all time. The final culminating championship game between the U.S. and Japan just finished. 17 was sweet, but this one was full of amazing moments and a much better pool of ball players in this Classic. It's very, very awesome. And it culminated with none other than a Shohei Ohtani, Mike Trout matchup. It got to a full count. Shohei Ohtani, he must have thrown, I think it was 3 or 4 pitches over 100 miles per hour to Mike Trout. It was the best in baseball, giving it to the best in baseball in the box. And it was just as cool as it gets. Unfortunately, Mike Trout was not able to come through, and the U.S. lost to Japan 3-2. And I know Eric's going to be covering that probably in the morning quite a bit and later through the week. And I'll hopefully be doing so as well. But here at the BFC, what we like to do is we take a big juicy slap of a topic, and we primarily focus on Brewers or Wisconsin, or mainly Brewers topics, and we throw it up here on my butcher's block, and we take it apart, that topic, and dissect it and cut it out all the fat and serve it to you just as fresh as it can be. And that's the only way we do it here at the BFC. I will add that one more time that it was an amazing baseball game, the World Baseball Classic, and we couldn't have asked for more from it. But once again, we're going to focus on something a little different today. Once again, we come at you every day at 5:30 a.m. Central Time. You can support us on Patreon as well. You can find that on the ticker in the bottom. So anyways, what I wanted to get into today is that first, I wanted to take a deep dive on Wisconsin-born baseball players and eventually compile a top 10 of all time that have been born in our Badger State. But there are a lot of players who have made it to the big league from our humble 4-season state. And I don't want to skimp on too many players because as I dove in, there are so many cool stories that are buried within that list. And frankly, a week was not enough time for me to go through the entire list of Wisconsin-born players. So this will be an ongoing segment here at the Butcher's Fresh Cuts. I'm going to take a quick pause. Got to grab another headphone. Okay. How I will is as follows. I will only highlight players who have accumulated a minimum of 5-year service time, and unless that player is currently active, because I certainly want to highlight all the guys who are currently making their way through the show, and I want to give them as much publicity as possible. So I am going down the list basically at random, and I will highlight 6 to 10 players per episode that I do on this. And we are doing this every time we do the segment. And these are guys who I think have interesting stories, and who will be then in the running for that ultimate top 10. So once we go through this list, I pull out the great players from this list, and we talk about this. We'll eventually go through that entire list. And me with you guys through the comments and through dialogue, we'll compile our own top 10 of greatest Wisconsin-born ball players, and that could be not just based on playing, but statistics, but great stories and their impact on the communities that they live in, and in Wisconsin as well. So once we've gone through this entire list of Wisco-born players, we will narrow down the top 10 together. So does that sound great or not? I think it does. I thought so too. Let's get into it. So today we're going to be highlighting 8 ball players from various eras in baseball history, all these guys born in Wisconsin, and they have all had at least somewhat nice careers in pro baseball at the highest level. So anyways, here we go. We'll start with Maury Snooker Arnovich. He was a right-handed left fielder who was born way back in November of 1910. He played 5 years in the big leagues for 3 different teams between the years of 1936 and 1946, and he was born way up in Superior. He spent 5 years with the Phillies, 2 years with the New York Giants, 1 year in Cincinnati. And he was an all-star in 1939, and he won the World Series in 1940. In his career, he racked up a very respectable 7.1 baseball reference WAR, and in 2013 at-bats, he racked up 517 hits. He hit 22 ding-dongs and batted 287. Very respectable numbers, especially in today's ball. If you got 287, you're going to get paid. In his 1940 season, and strangely, this isn't the year that he made the All-Star team, but he had career highs in batting average at 324, career high in OPS at 811. He had a 124 OPS plus. He drew 55 walks. He racked up 159 hits, and he even stole 25 bags. A very nice season by today's standards. Old Snooker Arnovich did not play from the years of 1942 to 1945 due to his honorable service with the U.S. Army during World War II. In the Army, he was a staff sergeant in the Pacific Theater Operations, and while in the Army, he also played and managed the Fort Lewis baseball team before becoming a postal clerk in New Guinea. After serving his time in the military, he played just one more game in the big leagues, catching 3 at-bats with the New York Giants at age 35, and then he was sent down to Jersey City and bopped around the minors and the independent leagues for 2 years before eventually retiring at age 37. He was known as a line drive hitter in his playing days and a very great on-base guy. He was also one of the most religious Jewish major leaguers, and he kept kosher his entire life. In 2010, he was then ranked 9th in career batting average among all Jewish baseball players in history. So one of the great Jewish ball players of all time from Superior, Wisconsin. He was not a Hall of Famer by any means, but he's a guy who could put up some great years in Major League Baseball. He won himself a World Series with the Phillies. He made an All-Star game. He served his country and came back alive to tell the tale. We should respect him for it. And he was respected also among his religious brethren, and he was a great ball player all around. And he came from our home state. Here's to Maury Snooker Arnovich. Mad props. The next guy I want to talk about is a little more modern than old Maury. He's a guy that we all know and love if you are a fan of the great teams of the 80s, or even if you've watched a Brewers broadcast over the past 6 seasons. I'm talking, of course, about good old Jerry Augustine, left-handed pitcher for the Crew from 75 to 84. And he was born in Kewanee, Wisconsin on July 24th, 1952. Shares a birthday with my brother, although my brother's wasn't born in 52. Jer Bear racked up 10 whole seasons on the Brewers, with the Brewers, just enough to get some nice tenure in Major League Baseball. And over those 10 years, he accumulated 4.2 baseball reference WAR. He won 55 games, lost 59. He finished with a career ERA of 4.23, and in 944 innings pitched, he struck out 348 batters, gave up 1,028 hits, 444 earned runs, which is good for a 91 ERA plus, just a bit below league average for that time in baseball. But even with those less than stellar numbers, he was a serviceable piece for the Crew at a crucial time in our team's young history at that time, and he managed to accumulate 10 seasons out of it. Players with better career numbers don't always get to make it that long, especially in today's baseball. A guy with those numbers wouldn't make it, but that's no knock on Jerry Augustine. He was a serviceable piece during that time, and if anyone who racks up 10 years in Major League Baseball is a damn good ball player. In 1976, Jerry was named to the Topps All-Star rookie team, showing that he was certainly a pretty highly touted prospect, at least to some degree. In his post-playing career, he coached for UWM, the Panthers, and of course, for a number of years did post-game for the Brewers. You remember him doing post-game at Miller Park. And it was always just nice to see him around the ballpark. And one more interesting fact about Jerry, his nephew, James Augustine, he actually played professional ball in the NBA with the Orlando Magic. Nice, cool little fact there. In summary, Jerry Augustine, he wasn't the greatest pitcher on the team at any point in his career. But like I said, he racked up 10 years with the team, and he's done so much in southeastern Wisconsin and the sports scene since that playing career. And he's been an excellent man of the people in his post-playing career as well. So big love to Jerry Augustine. Here's to you, big guy. The next player we're going to dive deep on here is a man born in July of 1876. We're going way back. This guy was born in the small town in Racine County called Rochester, Wisconsin. That player goes by the name of Ginger Beaumont. And he played in the big leagues for 11 years, from the years of 1899 to 1910, right at the turn of the century. In those 11 years, he spent 8 of them with Pittsburgh, 3 of them with the Boston Doves, and he had a cup of coffee later in his career with the Cubs. And old Ginger Beaumont, whose real name is Clarence Howarth Beaumont, is one of the finest players that we will be talking about today. And he's certainly one whose numbers would make him a highly paid ball player in the big leagues today. Ginger was a hell of a ball player, and you'll hear with the numbers that this guy would have been getting paid. He'd be on the $8, $10, $12 million pay range annually at this point. This guy was huge. Listed as a center fielder, he racked up a huge 30.5 baseball reference WAR throughout his career. He had 1,759 hits, 39 ding-dongs. He batted a career .311. Yeah, he would have been paid like Luis Arias money, more than what I said earlier. He had 617 RBIs, a whopping 254 stolen bases, and he all to the tune of a 123 career OPS plus, meaning that throughout Ginger's career, he was 23% better than the league average hitter. A damn fine ball player. Honestly, this dude's a borderline Hall of Famer, and he would be if he played in today's game. He'd probably be close to a Hall of Fame numbers. He won a batting title in 4 separate seasons, 1902, 1903, and 1904, and again in 1907 with the Doves. He also led the league in runs scored in 1903 with the Pirates with 137. Here's an amazing fact. He was the Pirates' regular leadoff hitter, our guy born in Wisconsin, Ginger Beaumont. He was the Pirates' regular leadoff hitter, and in 1903, he was the first player to ever take a bat in a World Series game. As the first World Series was played in 1903 between the Pirates and the Yankees, so our boy from a suburb of Racine was the first player to ever take a bat in a World Series game. Pretty awesome. Another first that was accomplished by our boy Ginger. He was the first player to ever lead a league in 3 consecutive seasons with hits. To have the batting title with hits in 3 consecutive seasons. And as I mentioned, he did this in 1902, between the years of 1902 and 1904 with the Pittsburgh Pirates. His career was hampered by leg injuries, and he joined the Cubs in 1910 late in his career, and he was able to also pinch hit in the first 3 games of the 1910 World Series with the Northsiders before returning to his farm in Honey Creek, Wisconsin after that and retired. So he was able to take at bats in 2 different World Series. He was able to be the first guy to take a bat in a World Series game, our boy Ginger. He was a fantastic player in summary and a great baseball story for our state, and he was one of the first inductees into the Wisconsin Hall of Fame in 1951, part of the inaugural class. He then passed away at age 79 in Burlington, and now he has a baseball field named after him down in Burlington. So here's to Ginger Beaumont. Here's you, big guy. So the next guy we're going to talk about is also from a deep southeastern portion of the state. Catcher Ray Barris was born in Kenosha, Wisconsin on August 31st, 1907. And he also racked up 11 years in Major League Baseball from the years of 1934 to 1945. And Barris, unlike our boy Ginger, who we just talked about, Barris did not have great offensive numbers throughout his career, of which he spent 4 years with the New York Giants, 4 years with the Pirates, 2 years with the Brooklyn Dodgers, and 2 years with them Boston Doves that we previously mentioned. Now, the catching position is not, as you know, is not typically the most offensively driven position, and you don't necessarily have to have a great offensive numbers to be a great backstop in the league for a nice period of time. And Ray Barris is the very definition of that. In his career, he racked up a negative 3.5 baseball reference WAR, and in 1,330 at-bats, he batted just .216, getting just 287 hits in those 1,330 at-bats and just 3 home runs. But he was essentially just a defensively focused backstop, and he was a backup player. He was never truly a starter, never really made it as a starter, despite spending over a decade of his life playing at the game's highest level. After his playing career, he became a pitching coach for the White Sox, and he famously coached the famous Tommy John, whom credited Ray Barris with much of his success on the mound after running into him, indicating that Barris was able to show him much about mechanics and pitch selection and had a big hand in making Tommy John the pitcher that he would end up becoming. Ray Barris died in Kenosha at the ripe old age of 99. Because of his fantastic career on and off the field, he was elected to the Wisconsin Athletic Hall of Fame in 1999. So though he didn't have a great offensive career, he was a serviceable backstop throughout his entire career, backup backstop, and he was able to, even in his post career, he was able to help pitchers with their mechanics and become the players that they were meant to be. So Ray Bears, great man in baseball, great Wisconsin ball player, great Wisconsin baseball man. So Ray Bears, mad props to you. The next player we will talk about is much more recent than all the guys that we've talked about thus far. And he's a dude who I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of you remember out there. I personally don't. The name kind of ringed a bell a bit, but I've also been to the Wisconsin-born Hall of Fame thing that's at Miller Park a couple of times, reading through those names. It's kind of fun. But Chris Benson was a righty and one-time starter born up in Superior, Wisconsin on November 7th, 1974. He pitched 9 years in the big leagues, spending 5 years in Pittsburgh, 2 years with the Mets, and a year with the D-backs. And also spent some time with the Rangers and Orioles. Over his career, he was a very nice piece. He was never a guy who was a top-of-the-line starter per se, and some would say that he was a bust after all the hype he was given coming up through college. But I would be more than happy, personally, to have the career of Chris Benson. Over that career, he racked up 12.9 baseball reference WAR. He had a 70-75 record, a 4.42 ERA. He struck out 806 batters in 1,243 and 2/3 innings pitched. He finished his career with a dead even 100 ERA plus, meaning that based on that statistic, he was exactly the league average pitcher over the course of his career, right at league average. And he struck out 5.9 batters per nine and gave up just over one hit per inning in his career. The reason that I say that some would say Chris Benson is a bust is because he was a hugely touted prospect. He was drafted number 1 overall by the Pittsburgh Pirates in 1996. He followed that up with a strong rookie season in 1999 when he made his big league debut, going 11-14 to a 4.07 ERA, 139 strikeouts, and a 1.13 ERA plus in 196 and 2/3. He then followed that up with an even better 2000 season, going 10-12 with a 3.85 ERA, 184 strikeouts, and a 121 ERA plus, meaning he's 21% better than the league average pitcher at this time. And he did that in 217.2 innings pitched. So he was racking up quite the workload over those first couple seasons in the big leagues. And all those big league innings may have gotten to Chris after this point because he missed all of 2001 with Tommy John surgery. He again had 2 good seasons when he got back in 2004 and 2006, but then had rotator cuff surgery and was never again an effective pitcher in the big leagues. Now, the highlight of Chris's career may be playing for Team USA in the 1996 Olympics. This was before his big league career and after an extremely successful college pitching career at Clemson. In the Olympics, where in the shining moment for him, Benson beat Nicaragua to open the games and also beat Japan in his next start. But in the following start, again against Japan, he surrendered 5 runs and only lasted 4 innings. He ultimately finished with a 2-1 record in the Olympics with a 5.82 big ERA due to that last blow-up start against Japan. And he struck out a nice 17 batters in 17 innings. And the USA eventually finished with the bronze medal in the 1996 Atlanta Olympic Games. Overall, Chris Benson, very nice ball player over his career with some pretty great highlights throughout, even if the best of those may have come before he even never suited up as a big leaguer. But to finish 9 years in the big leagues and rack up a nearly 13 wins above replacement and not to be below that dreaded 100 line of ERA plus, it's more than a great career from one of them up north boys, don't you think? Here's the Chris Benson. A few more for you here today. The next stud from the Badger State we're going to talk about is righty pitcher Dick Bozeman. I love this guy. He was born in Kenosha, Wisconsin on February 17th, 1944, and he pitched 11 years in the big leagues from 66 to 76. He spent 8 years with the Senators and Rangers, 2 years with Cleveland, and he spent 2 years with the Oakland A's. Big Dick is another player born in our state whose career is littered with some pretty awesome highlights. And his numbers suggest that he'd be a serviceable piece for a ball club at any point in Major League Baseball history. In his 11 years in the show, Dick racked up 10.9 baseball reference WAR. He had a record of 82 and 85. He had a career ERA of just 3.67, not bad. And he pitched 1,591 innings, and he struck out 757 batters and finished just below that 100 line in ERA plus. 7% worse than the league average pitcher by that statistic at 93. Though the career numbers don't exactly jump off the page for old Dick Bozeman, he had some very excellent seasons mixed in there. He won an ERA title with the Senators in 1969 with just a minuscule 2.19 ERA that year. He also led the league in ERA plus that season, being 58% better than the league average pitcher that season. Absolutely great. Another cool fact about Dick Bozeman is that he made the final start for the franchise that was the Washington Senators, and also made the first start for the brand new expansion at the time, Texas Rangers. So he was able to make the last start for the Senators, first start for the Rangers. Pretty cool stuff. He's also the only pitcher in Major League history to miss a perfect game due to his own fielding error. So had a perfect game going, but in the fourth inning made his own fielding error that caused him to lose it. He also managed to rack up a no-hitter in his career, blanking the defending World Series champions Oakland A's on July 19th, 1974. And after retiring as a ball player, he served as the pitching coach for the White Sox, second guy on our list to do that, the Rochester Red Wings, the Orioles, and the Tampa Bay Rays. He's known for teaching pitchers how to control the running game specifically, and he's famously helped big league guys that we know now, like James Shields, Wade Davis, Jake McGee, and Alex Cobb. Dick Bozeman retired from baseball after the 2018 season. So very nice career out of Dick Bozeman during his playing career and even after. He was a local guy who racked up some pretty awesome accolades through his career and also made for some pretty awesome trivia question answers as well. He also developed some excellent talent in his post-playing career. So here's to the great Dick Bozeman. Big Dick. The next player I'd like to talk about is a very cool and interesting player, the great Ryan Dern. He's a name that some of you may know out there, actually. Dern was born in Cazenovia, Wisconsin on February 22nd, 1929. He played 10 years in Major League Baseball from 54 to 65, and he spent 4 years with the Yankees, 3 years in Philadelphia, 2 years with the Angels, and he had cups of coffee with KC Athletics, the Senators, the Reds, and the Orioles. Dern was a righty pitcher, and he finished with a career of 5 wins above replacement based on Baseball Reference. He won 27, lost 44, and he finished his career with a 3.83 ERA, and he had 55 saves. He struck out 630 and 589 in the third innings, and he was just 2% worse than the league average pitcher by ERA plus standards. But he was a damn fine pitcher in his day, making 4 All-Star games in 4 All-Star games. He did once in 1958, twice in 1959, because back then there was 2 All-Star games, and again in 1961. He was also a World Series champion with the Yankees in 1958. Ryan Dern was also known for famously having an intense, blazing fastball and also terrible eyesight. And he scared the living hell out of any batter that stepped to the plate against him. He wore thick glasses and was wild as they could be. Casey Stengel once famously said about Dern, "I would not admire hitting against Ryan Dern, because if he ever hit you in the head, you might be in the past tense." Ryan racked up 20 saves in 1958. That's the same year he won his World Series ring, and which was the most in the American League that season. But this was before saves were even recorded as a stat, so he was never actually honored with a saves title. But he had a saves title in 1958, and the following season he was fantastic as well, finishing with an ERA of just 1.88 in 1959. So he was as wild. He was so wild that he allegedly once hit a player in the on-deck circle during warm-ups. So just throwing his warm-up pitches, so wild that he hit a guy all the way over in the on-deck circle. He was so intense that he would opt to hop over the bullpen fence in Yankee Stadium rather than opting for the built-in gate made for bullpen pitchers. In 1983, Ryan Dern was presented with the Yankees Family Award for conquering his alcoholism and serving as an alcohol abuse educator for the team. Also, after his playing career, he wrote a book with author Tom Sabelico called I Can See Clearly Now, where he chronicled his playing career, and he pondered life, and he talked about overcoming his addiction with alcohol. Hall of Famer Ryan Sandberg, the Cubby, you guys probably know him. He was named after Wisconsinite Ryan Dern, so Cubby Bear named after him. And probably the coolest fact about Dern is, and this one you guys are going to love, according to author and director of Major League David S. Ward, Dern was the inspiration behind Ricky Vaughn, Wild Thing, the character in the film franchise. Pretty amazing stuff. Our boy Ryan Dern is Wild Thing. He's a dude with a great career, full of awesome accomplishments. None none bigger than conquering his battle with alcoholism and living to help so many others in his life after baseball and life after alcohol. And he inspired one of the coolest characters in one of the greatest baseball movies of all time. Just a Wisconsin legend. Here's one for Ryan Byrne. I don't drink either. Big shout out to Ryan Byrne because I'm also 7 years clean of alcohol. Don't drink myself in a state full of people who drink, and a team with a baseball team that's named after people who make beer. So big shout out to Ryan Byrne. I also don't drink alcohol, and big inspiration for a guy like me who tries to stay off the sauce. The last bro I want to talk about is a dude who's still in the big leagues today, and he was born in Milwaukee, Wisconsin on December 16th, 1993. The only guy here today who's actually younger than me, and that bro is Tampa Bay relief pitcher Pete Fairbanks. Pete has spent 4 seasons in the big leagues, coming up with the Rangers in Texas and spending the bulk of his big league career with the Rays, making his MLB debut in 2019. In those 4 years, it has been up and down for Pete, more down than up, but he is certainly on the upswing currently. So far, he's racked up just 1.2 baseball reference WAR, and he has an 11-12 record with a 3.46 ERA, 15 saves, and just 48 walks to a whopping 161 strikeouts in just 114 and a third innings pitched, which is good enough for a very nice 120 ERA plus, meaning that Pete Fairbanks is 20% better than the league average pitcher, and he sports a massive 12.9 strikeouts per 9 innings, making him extremely effective in the innings that he comes into work for. The 29-year-old Milwaukee native was drafted in the 9th round of the 2015 Major League Baseball amateur draft. He attended Webster Groves High School in Webster Groves, Missouri, and he underwent Tommy John surgery in just his junior year. So as a young kid, he already had Tommy Johns. After high school, he attended the University of Missouri, and he also played where he played college ball from the years of 2013 to 2015. And he also spent his summers in the Cape Cod Summer Ball League as big famous baseball league during the summers, pitching for the Jimenez Harbor Hawks. After being drafted 258th overall by the Rangers in 15, Pete spent his debut year in Class A short season, notching a 3.14 ERA in 37 innings. In 2016, he pitched 101 innings to a 4.88 ERA in Class A South Atlantic League. And in 2017, the following year, he was in advanced A ball, but he suffered a second UCL tear just a few years after his first and had a second Tommy John surgery, and he would miss the rest of 2017 and all of the 2018 season. But upon his return, he would start to become the Pete Fairbanks that we know today. He would have successful stints down east and in the Texas League. And on May 29th, 2019, he was promoted to AAA Nashville with the Sounds, who were the Rangers affiliate at this time. And the Brewers back then, our AAA affiliate, if you remember right, was the San Antonio Missions. Shortly after this, on June 9th, Pete Fairbanks would make his big league debut, where he would strike out 3 over 2 frames. A very nice debut for the pitcher from the Cream City. On June 29th, he pitched against the Rays, which immediately caught their attention. And a couple weeks later, on July 13th, the Rays traded Nick Solak straight up for Pete Fairbanks, and he became a Ray, and he hasn't looked back since. In 2020, he pitched nearly half of the Rays games in the shortened 60-game season, and he would post a fantastic 2.70 ERA, and he struck out 39 batters in 26 2/3 innings. In Game 7 of the 2020 ALCS, our boy Pete recorded a 4-out save to win the pennant for the Tampa Bay Rays for just the second time in team history. And in 2021, he had another pretty nice season, a little bit of a regression, but he pitched 42 2/3 to a 3.59, striking out 59 batters in that season. In 2022, Pete missed 3 months of action. It was kind of a rough start for our boy. He suffered a lat tear, but he had a great season when he came back on July 12th, finishing the year with just a minuscule 1.13 ERA in 24 innings pitched and 38 strikeouts in just those 24 innings. And the Rays have showed that they are very thankful for the success that Pete Fairbanks has brought them, locking him up to a 3-year, $12 million extension on January 27th, just earlier this year. Listen, Pete Fairbanks is a guy I want you all to keep an eye on throughout his career. He's one of the finest and most trustworthy bullpen arms in the American League. And though he didn't live in Wisconsin for much of his youth, he is still a hometown guy from the MKE, and he's building a very nice career down in Tampa. So let's hear it for big Pete Fairbanks. So this is just the first of hopefully many episodes meant to detail and highlight our bright and super interesting history of baseballs born in our awesome state of Wisconsin. And there are so many cool stories that need to be told from this great list of hometown dudes. And I hope you all found this as interesting and as fun as I did. Learning all these things and all these great baseball stories, many of whom had a lot more to talk about after their playing career than during. Whether it's on or off the field, these guys all made an impact, and they are bright spots in the history of baseball from our great state of Wisconsin. And with that, leave a comment, talk to us. And with that, I'm going to bring in our boy, Eric Agnew. Hold on. While you're there, I got to go grab some real quick.
What's good? What's good? Just coming in to talk to the butcher, and how about it? How about that WBC, guys? I grabbed my Angels hat because I couldn't find my Ohtani shirt is missing. But what? Oh, there he is. There he is. Look at that, Ohtani.
Ohtani.
What can we say here? I mean,
bro,
what did we just watch?
We just watched, dude. So now it all makes sense. Everyone was wondering why Japan wasn't starting Yu Darvish, why they weren't starting Ohtani, why they weren't starting their best pitchers. It's because they were saving Ohtani for a ninth inning, what could be the culminating, most amazing thing ever, which was finish the game with a Mike Trout Ohtani matchup, let him burn several 100+ mile per hour fastballs by him. Let the two best baseball players of our generation go up head to head and see what happens. And we saw the result. Ohtani got the best of him in that matchup, and I bet they're going to have a lot of laughs, and they're going to be talking about that at bat for a long time. But there couldn't have been a better way to culminate it.
I can't even. Seriously, I'm going to throw my Ohtani shirt on, but I don't know where it went. So I just grabbed the Angels cap. But I still have goosebumps. Like that, I've probably seen the replay 100 times now. It looks like they're replaying the game. But dear God, what a moment!
What a moment!
No bigger moment that it could have happened in that World Baseball Classic than to close it out with Mike Trout versus Shohei Ohtani.
Right. Like that. So my wife had gotten home and we were putting the 2-year-old down. She's still actually kind of going down. I got help with that in a bit, but we were putting her down and I stopped them and I was like, look, just look at the phone for a second. I just want you to know that you're witnessing one of the greatest moments in baseball history, no matter how this ends, just so you can say you were there, because that was huge, man. And all of Japan, was watching that, every TV set in Japan. Worldwide, that game might end up getting bigger numbers than the Super Bowl. Worldwide.
Right.
That's how big world that numbers.
Was. World numbers.
Worldwide. And to end it with the two greatest baseball players of our time, it was just candy, and I can't get any more of it, enough of it. I just want it pumped in my veins that moment.
It was like, okay, either strikeout or home run, and both is a victory. You know what I mean?
Yeah, everybody wins.
He hits a dinger here and ties this thing up, or he gets struck out by the greatest pitcher to possibly ever live.
Right, pitcher and they're on the same team.
Player in general to ever live.
Right, and yeah, and just like the Mexican coach said, the guy from Mexico, the coach said yesterday, the manager of the team, he's like, no matter who wins this, Japan won the game, but baseball wins after that game last night, and even more so after tonight. We got a close game today. We got a real tight matchup, and we got to see the best two teams. Japan went undefeated through the Classic, only the second team to ever do that, and the USA going to defend their crown. It couldn't have been any better, man. And to finish it the way it did, it's just, I don't know if I can sleep tonight.
Right. And they were undefeated through the whole thing. They didn't lose a single matchup in pool play, and then obviously it was to get there, but
they found a way to win every time,
every single game. And Shohei's numbers, 458, and he had a 1.83 ERA, I believe it was.
Right. I bet he's ready to just get going with the season. He doesn't even want to wait for any more spring training.
And how many times can he say to Trout, "Oh, I struck you out"? He's gonna learn that phrase. He's gonna learn just that phrase.
Yeah, they're good. Yeah, he's going to learn that phrase, and he's just going to give it to him all season long. I hope it doesn't get into Trout's head. But hey, Brewers fans, we should all be showing out in big fashion. This is the first time Ohtani's coming to town. The series is April 28th through the 30th in Miller Park. We're going to see those two greats facing it off in Miller Park. It's going to be hard to know which shirt to wear, man.
I'm wearing this hat and my Ohtani shirt if I find it. I don't know where it is right now, but it's
I'll probably be something like this with this hat and this shirt. Like Ohtani.
Right, like dual fan in it, just like mix and match.
It might have to, but yeah, show out big for the guys, Brewers fans. Come on, they represent.
You get to see two of the best baseball players probably now in the history, or the best, at least modern age players that we're gonna have.
Right, and they just fought for the country, and played baseball for the country. Right.
It's honestly, to me, what we've seen here over the last 5 days proves that baseball could be so much bigger than it is. And look what they did to this. I mean, they really they bastardized them. Had you had a Corbin Burns on this roster, or a Clayton Kershaw, or a Max Scherzer, or a Justin Verlander, would it have gone down like that?
No, I think we would have won. But I think we would have won if we had all the best of the best representing USA. But this was the build-up.
Best. Shohei
they truly had
in the ninth.
Plus, they got that pitcher who Ohtani says is better than him on the, that's the Saki guy. They got so many great ball players. This is the build-up, though.
21-year-old?
Yeah, but this is the build-up. A lot of great players joined that didn't play before, and I think the next Classic is going to be even bigger because now people are seeing the reception. And I don't know, maybe you get some pay incentives worked into contracts on it or somehow. I don't know what you do there, but I think the next Classic is going to be even bigger, and I think they can potentially grow this into being a World Cup thing. And they proved it this year with the turnout. You can't get people to fill Lone Depot Park in Miami for a baseball game, but they did it over and over and over again for this, and it was just legendary.
I think it was David Sampson who was like, "This is everything I dreamed."
Lone Depot Park.
He built this thing. He built that stadium,
and they were mad at him for building it.
But it never, the Marlins never amounted to it,
Right. Not since they built the park.
Now they've got this.
Yeah, now they got this, and they're going to be bidding for every World Baseball Classic from here on out for sure. But yeah, I hate to cut it short. I got to put the kid to bed. I said, I don't know if I'm going to sleep tonight after this.
I appreciate you. Great job. Hey, I want to take 1 second and seriously look you in the eye and say, hey, congratulations on all that time sober. I heard that part of the podcast.
Thank you.
And that's amazing. Round of applause.
Thanks.
Thumbs up below for all the time sober for the Butcher.
Thanks, guys. And big shout out to Ryan Duran. He's been doing it for many, many years. So.
All right, man. You have a great rest of your night. I'll let you finish out your show here. See you later.
Okay. I love you, man. I'll finish it up as always. Big shout out to Eric. Love you, man. So I will finish it up as always. Sue pitched great. Don't widen the plate. Shout out to the Wisco-born players. We'll do more of these. Love you guys. Comment below.
Thank you for watching the Miller Park Minute. Go Brewers.